We use 55 million pounds of uranium each year for the production of nuclear energy. But what happens when we are done using this material? Radioactive waste is very harmful to the environment because once exposed to this material, the radiation can kill living cells and cause DNA mutations. The most common way we deal with the radioactive waste is storing it in the ground where it is far from human contact. The capacity for storing this material decreases over time. Storing this material is not the safest way for our environment. A process called geomelting takes this waste and combines it with soil and other earthly materials to create a very strong glass. This glass is completely harmless and could be used for other purposes. We should encourage geomelting because it eliminates radioactive waste, which is harmful. It creates a glass, which is a useful material and is a safe option that is better for our environment. In 1980, the U.S. Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory created a process called geomelting. Geomelting takes the radioactive waste from nuclear power plants, mixes it with soil, and burns it at high heat to create a strong glass product. Why might this process be effective? Because it takes a very harmful material and turns it into useful material such as glass. Is it expensive? Yes it is, but is cheaper than other options. The process we use now is not effective whatsoever. All we do is store the waste in the ground. We can turn this waste into something useful. In the past, radioactive materials have been used for malicious intents. Terrorists attempt to obtain such material to cause distress and scare our societies. Instead of storing these useless materials in facilities or in the ground, where it still possibly could be accessible to malicious or terrorist groups, we can remove this distress and prevent these situations from happening. Why have we never changed our ways of disposing the waste? There must be a change before this becomes an even greater issue than it is. We have been using nuclear energy ever since 1930, when Enrico Fermi had discovered how to provide energy from chain reactions. Nuclear energy is a huge resource of energy for us, and I believe we will continue to use nuclear energy throughout the future. If we're going to continue to use nuclear energy, we must have a proper way to dispose of this byproduct. I believe geomelting is one of the most, if not the most, effective ways to do so. We have started implementing this process into our disposing program, but why do we not do it as often? The government provides over $800 million for the nuclear regulatory commissions, but somehow we still aren't doing anything about this issue, besides storing it. Another option that has been brought up about disposing radioactive waste is the idea that we will load an entire spacecraft with waste and fly it into space. This can be a huge issue because there could be potential for a launch failure, and if there's an unexpected reaction, the explosion could launch radioactive material all across the Earth. Geomelting is the best option because it permanently removes the hazardous waste and creates a useful strong glass material. We must encourage this process of geomelting because it is the most efficient way to dispose of hazardous material. It is the only process that is beneficial to our societies.